this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus Raw. This is from September 20th, 2021, or should we call it Monday Night Dynamite? We should, because this is an AEW show all the way. Steve, you're overstating. You're making too much out of this. You're wrong. Let me show you what I mean. We open with a hot match, which is AEW Dynamite all the way, right? The match that they had set up, violating all of their rules about who's on what brand and can do all that. They've thrown that nonsense out of the window because all it does is stop them from doing a good show. So now we're going to break those rules. We're going to open after a brief promo segment to set up the match. Then they give it to us right away. The 6-man tag, right? The 2 champions of the respective brands with their people, the New Day and the Usos with their respective people. And they give us that match right away. They give us the big moment. They finally have Big E in there with Roman, and they have them throw each other around. And at the end of the day, Bobby Lashley comes out, beats up everybody. Roman gets the pin in the midst of it and then gets speared himself by Bobby Lashley, who then also puts Big E through the barrier. That kind of frantic, brutal action, which, by the way, let me make this clear. It's great that the WWE is taking their cues from AEW in an attempt to compete. It is great. It is wonderful. It makes for a much better show. Not in every case, but in most ways, it is a breath of fresh air to see WWE acknowledging that AEW is a superior show and booking accordingly. Steve, I think you're overstating it. Am I? Okay, so we go from this opening with the match, which most people would assumed would have been the main event. We open with that. We have Bobby Lashley beat the crap out of everybody. All right? Is that AEW, though? Bobby Lashley beating the... Kind of, but it gets exacerbated later on, right? Bobby Lashley's backstage... gets to put himself over even more, etc., etc., etc. They talk about MVP suffering that broken rib from Randy Orton. Orton and Riddle are backstage. They keep the segment pretty short, which is good. Eva Marie versus Doudrop. We are putting the final nail in the coffin of this angle. We've done it 3 weeks in a row, but it felt finalized. And it was actually served to get Doudrop over as a face, and they made good strides in that direction. We have Randy Orton against AJ Styles. Another good match. They fight through the break. And then eventually, Randy Orton wins with the RKO. Yay. Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler. The long and short of this thing is... Jack squealing, which is incredibly crazy. Now we're back to more AEW-esque stuff. We got Mustafa Ali and Mansoor doing this kind of silly gimmick, but Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, definitely a harder edge, a real brutal thing. Humberto, so they're throwing everything they can together and giving it this massive push off of the jump. It's actually nice to see if they can stick with it. We get a pre-recorded vignette from Karrion Kross. That is where it is. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash, though it was an uncomfortable segment because of the length at which it went, them cutting the promo about Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month and dedicating their match to the kids and all that stuff was fine. Then they have their tag team title match, and they just win clean, and they really put Nikki Ash over and make her look good, which is what you need to do, right? Alexa's Playground. This was a direct response to Ruby Rose and Britt Baker. So we're going to let these people apparently shoot on each other and improvise a little bit and say things about each other that feel really weird to get that reaction. It ended up not really working, but the fact that they even attempted it is notable. It's absolutely notable. Then we get a 24/7 segment. It's silly, and it is what it is. And then Jeff Hardy against Sheamus, which just happened a little while ago. we got blood all over the place, and Sheamus, they're not shying away from it in this kind of brutal, more physical style. We had a lot of beat 'em ups on the outside, so that's one aspect of AEW that I would hope that they wouldn't follow, which is kind of priming the same pump multiple times during a show. Nonetheless, I find it really noteworthy, and I just want to go ahead and get this out here, even though Raw is technically not finished yet. Of it is fascinating that when they're taking this new direction, that wrestling itself, I said this in full disclosure, that the indies are now, whether consciously or not, beginning to take their cues off of how AEW does things as opposed to the WWE. And that is a seismic shift. Fascinating.